Hey all, Zook here, back with part 16 of the No Damage All Boss Guide for Scholar of the First Sin. This is going to be the one where we hunt some dragons. So starting off, we were at the Ruin Fork Bonfire, and we're going to go north towards Aldia's Keep. You can head on up the slope, and you can either shoot the ogre or just run through and roll dodge like I did. At this point in the run, normally, if I was really trying to get the run, then I would probably actually just bait the ogre back and shoot it. Just because, I mean, those enemies scare me, but the roll should be pretty safe. And once you're up this path, you'll want to kill this cyanite guarding the door. You can get him to turn around the same way that we did the one guarding the undead crypt by shooting above his right shoulder. Do that, get a couple of shots in, and use shockwave just like I did. Then you'll want to equip the king's ring before you head in. And one of these items on the left are poison throwing knives if you're looking to use those for the throne duo or for the smelter demon coming up. But I don't need them. Twilight herb right here on the left if you wanted that. And then Aslatiel is going to try to invade. But, I mean, we aren't really worried about him. He isn't going to catch up to us. There is a bright bug if you go through this area with the mirrors. After you despawn Aslatiel by going through this upcoming door, you can actually head back down to that second level and kill the guys that spawn from the mirrors, and then one of those chests does have, I believe that's one bright bug. So if you are ever needing an extra bright bug, like if you accidentally waste one more than you wanted to on Alana because she spawns a Velstat, then you can always come back here if you need one. But yeah, we're just going to kind of run on through. Before we hit the door, we head to the right, roll through so that we can get through there a little bit quicker than walking. Same thing up here. Head to the right, let the ogre break the door, and roll through so that we can get through a bit quicker. But yeah, as we get into the dragon fight, I am going to pop a bright bug here. Just like with Looking Glass Knight, this is probably a fight that you could afford not to use a bright bug. But I would say this one less so than the Looking Glass Knight. You definitely want to use a gold pine resin since you have some. And then I also equip the bow in my offhand. And equipping the bow in the offhand is actually the reason why I would say that you don't need a bright bug for this fight. Because as you can see, you can get one or two shots in, quickly let your stamina regen back to full, and then if he doesn't fly up again, then you can run over and stab him. If he does fly up, then just run over to the other edge of the arena. And normally, if you're good about offhanding your bow, you can get at least one shot in with one of the arrows. So I'm surprised that I don't see more people doing this with the offhand bow. I'm not sure if it's just because people don't like using the offhand bow, but it is actually something that makes this fight and several of the other fights in this run a lot more reliable. But then again, maybe I'm just too reliant on the bow, so who knows. As we're taking the elevator up, we're going to pop all these souls. Then come on over here, talk to the Emerald Herald, and pick up the aged feather from her. And I mean, since we have Homeward and the hood that gives us this extra spell cast, since we have basically 2 casts of Homeward, we don't need the Aged Feather for using it for teleporting. What we are going to want the Aged Feather for is just in case we accidentally used up this Homeward Bone, then we would still have something that we could use to check for Forlorn, because the Aged Feather will never expire. But we'll just climb up that ladder, take the zip line over, roll across the bridge, and then we're going to talk to Aldia one more time. So we talk to him here, and you actually don't need to light this bonfire. It's just a safety bonfire at this point. And I equip Dark Soul, Dark Fog. I equip Dark Fog, and you'll see me use it in the upcoming fight. Honestly, it's not ideal. I'll explain why when we get to the upcoming boss fight. But one thing that you could use the Dark Fog for is actually poisoning these knights. I think that they're supposed to be like the old knights, except before they were old. The ones from Hade. But you can easily poison these knights. So that's what I do just to make my life a little bit easier. And really, these knights shouldn't be giving you much trouble. That's especially because you can take all of them back to the very start of the area. So really, hopefully it doesn't give you too much trouble. The one that might give you trouble is after you kill that guy and open up the door. This Shrine Guardian that's up here, he's the one that I could see giving trouble. And so my strategy for him, I'm going to poison him twice. The first time that I poison him is going to be as he's coming down the grand staircase. And so, yeah, make sure that he's poisoned. I'll shoot him once or twice, but then I'm going to sprint over here all the way back and close this door on him. Now it has to be this door because this is the one that you can close from the outside. If you try to close the other door, it doesn't work. But the specific reason why we close the door is we want to buy enough time that the poison wears off and we can re-poison him. So in the same way that the Kindler back in Amana isn't able to roll through the door, so it kind of buys some time for us, we do the exact same thing here, right? We're just buying time so that the poison wears off. And with him poisoned twice and then just kind of peppering him with some arrows in between, should be smooth sailing. So now we're going to come to the Ancient Dragon. And I wanted to show both ways of fighting the dragon. I'm going to start off by showing you how you could fight him using Dark Fog. And Dark Fog, so it's nice because you can cast this and poison him, and this would be something that you could technically use while he's up in the air, meaning that your DPS could actually be a lot higher than what you end up seeing in this fight. Now, the bad thing about Dark Fog, so we're looking for him to do this attack where he raises up onto his hind legs. But the thing about Dark Fog is that as soon as he's taking poison damage, then it's going to count as him being attacked. And so if you attack him while his AI is deciding what move to use, the chances of him flying up in the air increase exponentially. So you'll notice that even though we hug his toes and we aren't poking him while his AI is deciding, because he's in the middle of taking damage, he flies up, which you can always tell when he's about to fly up because he kind of bends his knees and then he'll jump up in the air. If he jumps up in the air, you want to follow his tail. So you're going to see him do a safe attack here. And then again, at this point, I should just be poking him. I was just like, all right, let's poison him once more, show these air attacks, see if I can get his second air attack, which I actually do end up getting his second air attack in this fight. And then we get an air attack, which again, you see me follow his tail. So when he jumps up in the air, either his tail will kind of rotate counterclockwise, or as you see here, the tail doesn't rotate and it just stays kind of straight out. Either way that it happens, you just want to follow his tail. So either follow it as it rotates or just run straight back. But if he gives you a good attack, rather than casting Dark Fog, you should just kind of poke his toes, just like you see me do right there. And you can reapply gold pine resin if needed. So now you see him jump up in the air again. He does the rotating one, so I run over here, eat an amber herb, and apply a resin. Or actually, sorry, I apply the resin, I believe, up here. Where at this point, I start to say, okay, let me just poke him to death. So I apply the resin as soon as he gets up onto his hind legs, and I poke him. And as you see, the DPS is so much higher if you're just poking him, to the point where I would only use Dark Fog on this boss, honestly, if he's down to like barely any HP. So maybe at this point you would want to use Dark Fog, but again, it seems kind of counterproductive just because you could just be hitting him with the rapier. So I'd really only bother trying to use Dark Fog if he had low health and flew up in the air. But that is the Ancient Dragon. Took us about 3 times longer to do the hybrid of poking along with Dark Fog to get about half of his health bar down, as opposed to what you just saw there where it took about a minute to just poke him to death. So homeward back to the bonfire, and normally you'd warp back to Forest of the Fallen Giants at this point, but right now is when I remember, oh yeah, there's some chunks waiting for me back at the poison pool. I could have gotten them earlier if I bought an aesthetic from Cloanne, but I'm just going to use the aesthetic that I picked up in the Undead Crypt. So I burned the bonfire aesthetic, treat it the same way that I did earlier in the run, back before we burned the aesthetic when we were running through it the first time. We're going to come out here, we're going to kill the Overseer. I'm going to have Perseverance and Urine both equipped. And yeah, let's see. Using magic arrows. Not that the arrows really matter at this point, but magic damage does do a little bit more damage on these guys. shoot them 4 times, let it either explode or pass over, shoot them 3 times, back away after the 3rd shot. Then we kill the Overseer. Now, from NG plus on, this skeleton's going to spawn. So I kill him. And I cast Perseverance. And I equip the Poison Bite Ring. And I make sure that Poison Moss equipped. So this is how it should have worked the first time that we ran through here. Where I'm going to cast Yearn. Go grab these chunks. There's now 3 chunks from this corpse. And then again, you'll notice the poison bar a lot larger and is filling up slowly. So I have enough time to make it all the way over here, eat a poison moss. And then this time around, I'm just homewarding back because there's nothing more that I need to do right here. And then I'm going to put Hush back on, or sorry, put Shockwave on because I'm going to need that for this next section. When we go to the Forest of Fallen Giants and gather the giant memories. So before we do that, I am going to head back to Majula and upgrade the black bow to +10. At this point, you could also buy some chunks from Cloanne and upgrade the Old Knight Hammer, but I'm just going to wait until we get some more chunks from the Undead Crypt in the next video. So in the next video, just to give you idea of what's going to come next, we'll return to Forest of the Fallen Giants, gather those giant memories before we head back to the crypt and kill the king. So I will catch you in the next one.